one part of my campaign, like I said, is with the education, is not that we don't have money, it's that our priorities have gotten a little screwed up in the past. And there's ways to reallocate the money that we currently have and are taking in and make it work better for the average citizen, and especially for our children.
We are Louisiana Indivisible. From New Orleans to North Louisiana, from Baton Rouge to the Bayou, from Shreveport to St. Bernard Parish, from Lake Charles to Lafayette to Leesville. Together, we can defend our democracy. We Are Louisiana Indivisible is highlighting people, politicians, and organizations across the state and region that understand there are no kings but king cakes in Louisiana, and that y'all will always mean all. Listen, share with your friends and neighbors, and help us work for a better tomorrow in Louisiana and beyond. Welcome to We Are Louisiana Indivisible. I am your host, Joel Sharpton, and I am super excited for today's guest, running in the 4th Congressional District in Louisiana against MAGA Mike Johnson. It's Matt Gromlich. Matt, welcome to the show, and thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
I am so excited to hear a little bit about you, Matt. I don't know you as well. We featured Conrad Cable previously, who is running in the primary against you as well. But I love the fact that we don't have one voice in this race. We've got a few already, and I'm super excited to let people know a little bit more about you and where you come from and how you got into this thing. Let's start there. Who are you? Why did you decide to get into politics? I've told all of these candidates that I've talked to recently, I mean, I'm very politically involved and motivated and active, and yet I just can't see myself sticking my neck out there. The odds seem so long where we are, Matt. Who are you, and why did you decide to get into this race?
Sure. Well, yeah, my name is Matt Gromlich, like you said, running for Congress in Louisiana's 4th District. Primarily, I'm an educator. So that is my background. I went to school to be a teacher. I have taught for 14 years. This is my 14th year in education. I started off in middle and high school math and science, and then transitioned over to teaching as a professor. So now I teach future high school math and science teachers, future principals here at LSU in Shreveport. And yeah, I love education. I see this race as an opportunity to continue being an educator and helping people in this area understand, the new midterms, like what the primary looks like, all the changes, and just educating people on policy, positioning, and letting people know that, you're not alone. You're not the only person who's feeling the way that you're feeling or thinking the things that you're thinking, that there are a lot of us out there. We just need to amplify our voices more.
And that is exactly what I'm hoping to do with this series, Matt. I'm super excited to talk to you. So I mentioned this when I chatted with Lauren Jewett. I hadn't talked to Conrad Cable and Dustin Granger until, I had spoken to them before the events in Minnesota involving Alex Pretty. But I just want to start and give you a moment to comment on how you're feeling. First of all, as terrible as these events have been, I think specifically this past weekend, as you and I are recording, after Alex Pretty's murder, I feel like there has been a shift, and there has been the beginnings of some moderate voices. I thought they had all disappeared, Matt, but some moderate voices have begun to stand up and say, hey, listen, I believe in strong borders and enforcement of the law, but this is not right, and what are we going to do about it? How are you feeling in this moment? And do you get a sense that there might have been a shift in the air?
I do. I mean, I think like the rest of the country and the rest of the world, the weekend's events were, devastating. And especially like with the ice storm keeping us inside for the weekend when we couldn't mobilize, it felt even more isolating than normal. Thankfully, we have seen people using their voices, people who have remained quiet on a lot of other issues. I do feel like there's a shift. I think that we need to have a lot more conversations, though, especially around ICE and immigration and border control. Yes, we need to have border control. We need to make sure that we have people coming to our country in a legal fashion so that they can benefit from us and we can benefit from them. But this idea of like going into neighborhoods and terrorizing the people who live in this country, whether they are documented or undocumented, that shouldn't happen. I mean, we saw that we could go into Venezuela and capture the president of Venezuela with 0 casualties. There's no reason why we should be having casualties in our own streets.
Oh, dude, that's so well put. So well put. All right, let's get back to things a little bit closer here to home, Matt. I've seen some of the videos that you've made where you specifically address the fundamental inhumane treatment of our students in this state.
Hmm. Hmm.
And I was thinking before you and I got on, life under John Bell Edwards was not like a rosy
Right.
socialist utopia or anything in
Hmm.
Louisiana. However, John Bell's administration, even with a Republican legislature, did several things to simply make life easier on a day-to-day basis for some of our most vulnerable citizens across the state, and particularly for our children. The question of, and I think part of this had to do with COVID in particular as well. There were some government programs that added to it. But for
Hmm.
several years, I know because I've got 4 kids, for several years, lunch across the state was free for
Hmm.
school children in
Hmm.
Louisiana. And it was such a boon for our poorest, for our most vulnerable
Hmm.
citizens. Those families are most in need. Those children are most disadvantaged when they come to school hungry and we ask them to test and compete against their peers. I know you see that on a daily basis. Let's talk a little bit about some of the things that you would do from that 4th district seat to help address that for not just the kids in the 4th district, but
Hmm.
across the state and the nation, hopefully.
Yeah, absolutely. Providing school lunches for children, especially when attendance at school is compulsory until you're 16 or depending on what state you're in, is it's crazy. It's crazy that we're not providing food for our kids. These are children. These are people who we're making them sit for 6, 8 hours a day. They need to be able to take care of their bodies. It's the least that we can do. The fact that students have to pay and families have to pay for lunch is ridiculous. Or you see the stories of like the one kid who saved up his birthday money for years to pay off other students' lunches. That shouldn't happen. That in the wealthiest country in the history of the world, we should be able to allocate money so that our students and our children do not go hungry. I think one part of my campaign, like I said, is with the education, is not that we don't have money, it's that our priorities have gotten a little screwed up in the past. And there's ways to reallocate the money that we currently have and are taking in and make it work better for the average citizen, and especially for our children.
It's just that simple. It's just that simple. We need to allocate the resources that we have better for our
Yes.
citizens, as particularly for children, the
Mhm.
elderly too. I think about
Yes.
this winter storm, Matt, and
Oh my gosh.
how privileged I am. My family, we were
Mhm.
able to hold up for a
Yep.
couple of days. We only lost power for a very temporary amount of time. We had some propane and some indoor safe
Yep.
heaters and those sorts of things. But like folks who already are reliant on programs like Meals on Wheels
Mhm.
or home health or things like that, uh, you know, in these moments, what resources are available for them, and why can we
Mhm.
not, with the abundance that our country
Right.
has, help make that more available for folks like that? And it's a
Mhm.
rising tide raises all boats, right?
Yes,
When our most
absolutely,
vulnerable
yes.
population
Mhm.
is okay, when they are not struggling, when they are not
Mhm.
fighting for existence, period, then they are able to contribute more to the economy overall. Our small businesses
Absolutely.
benefit, our larger businesses benefit too.
Mhm.
It's a virtuous cycle. Okay, Matt,
Mhm.
let's move for a second to the race of you and Conrad. Are there
Mhm.
any stark policy differences that you've noticed specifically between the two of you? I love the fact that both of you are running. I've already said it. I think
Mhm.
the idea of an uncontested race is silly, even in a primary, honestly. I
I
think
agree.
both of those voices being out there
Mhm.
and not challenging each other exactly, because you guys agree on more than you disagree on probably,
Mhm.
but
Mhm.
raising each other's game, so to speak, and also raising each
Right.
other's profile so that no matter what the
Mhm.
results of this particular race are, for the next race, we've got two voices out there that have
Yes.
established platforms and
Mhm.
bases. Are there any stark differences that you've noticed in your policy platforms and what Conrad's bringing to the table?
So, like you said, I think that it's really important to have contested races, that we should only make each other better. Iron sharpens iron. And I love what Conrad's putting out. I liked his most recent post last night, this morning. I think that our approaches are different. So it's not really necessarily policy positions, but our approaches and our priorities. I know that Conrad has a lot of information on like food security and insecurity. I'm approaching things more from an educational lens. And I think that, primarily it's more to the voters to decide, do our messages resonate with you in the way that we're talking about them, and our priorities, is that more aligned, not necessarily like where do you stand on each of these positions, because I do feel like policy positioning we're very similar.
Excellently put. And I agree 100%. It's about finding the right person for the right moment in the right position.
Hmm. Yes.
Matt, let's talk a little bit about the education in this state.
Hmm.
I used to joke, thank God for Mississippi and Arkansas, because we're not always bottom of the
Right.
rankings, right? But traditionally, this has been an area where we have struggled. I'm facing the gamut right now. My oldest is about to go to college in the fall, and we're looking at what the TOPS program faces right
Hmm.
now, what the
Hmm.
various state opportunities are.
Yep.
And it seems like in just the 20 some odd years since I left college, the promise that is available for Louisiana students is
Hmm.
significantly diminished.
Yep.
What could we do? What ideas do you have coming from the education side
Hmm.
specifically? How can we better support our Louisiana students? How can we better keep our
Hmm.
Louisiana high school students, especially our high achieving
Yep.
students, in state for not only college, but then
And
want to build
beyond.
a life here too?
Absolutely. I think that's a question that a lot of states have problems with. Just how do we retain our top talent? How do we retain people? How do we grow our own? And it truly starts from the beginning. So one of my really big policy positions platforms issues is thinking about like universal pre-K. And we need to start providing from a very young age resources for families. So families want to come here. We have universal pre-K that is available for all of our families. We're feeding our children. We're showing, we're providing more jobs, more opportunities, and then like building this from birth to life, holistic ecosystem that makes sense. Because what I've noticed is not only are our high schoolers leaving, our college students are leaving, and then there's a whole this next group of people who, when they want to have children, and I see it even with my colleagues and peers, we're here now, I want to have children. There are other states that provide a better infrastructure for having children and supporting children. So it really, I mean, it's a huge undertaking, but we really have to think about from birth onwards, how are we supplying the support for our community so that people want to stay and raise their families.
This is one of those things that unnerves me, honestly, about our position as people who have progressive policy ideas in Louisiana. We are so often villainized. Our neighbors are like, "Oh, you're not Christian enough, or you're not conservative enough, or you're not entrepreneurial enough, et cetera, et cetera." So many of our positions make sense morally and financially, and et cetera, et cetera. And this is one that particularly, I think, tickles that boat. The idea of supporting our young families is the very
Hmm.
definition of pro-life, making it
Yes.
easier and more,
Safer.
yeah, easier, safer, and more stable for people to
Mhm.
have and to raise a child
Yep.
or multiple children within your
Mhm.
area or state. I think specifically I'm in Ruston, Louisiana, and
Mhm.
Ruston has done a great job over the last, I'd say, decade or more, especially in building and adding to their parks, right? And
Mhm.
that's a great draw for young families. We've got these public spaces that are free that we can access,
Mhm.
that are clean and reliable and safe, and that are pleasant to be in. But healthcare,
Yep.
childcare,
Mhm.
food support, et cetera.
Mhm.
Like those are more fundamental issues that,
Mhm.
again, don't just help the very
Right.
disadvantaged or the very vulnerable, but they help
Mhm.
everybody in an area.
Exactly.
Matt, what is the number one thing that you would do day one when you take over that fourth district office? I mean, other than tearing out all the bad decor, I'm sure. But what would be your number one policy? Obviously, you wouldn't have the speaker seat, right? So
Right,
it's
right.
not like you could bring bills to
Yeah.
the floor immediately. But
Yeah.
you would have, and this is something I talked to Conrad too. It's something I've spoken with Lauren Jewett as well. I think our Louisiana representatives and senators have all drawn such focus on themselves as being so supportive of this administration that anyone that is able to replace one of those positions would have a lot of heat
Mhm,
nationally and
mhm,
would have a lot of momentum to be able to make some changes. So,
mhm.
what would be your top priority in that office?
I mean, I think, yeah, number one, day one, school lunches. Let's have a national system. Let's figure it out. It's not changing like a systematic structure that takes a lot more time. It's where's the money? How do we provide, opportunities for the money to go to the schools or the states or, however you want to do it. But I think that's something that is achievable, is, relatively within the bounds of the system and within the bounds of the office. So simple, easy, relatively speaking, as in, compared to some other things. And then I also think just in general, it's important to come together like as a body, but then also as like Louisianan delegates and say, okay, yes, we might be, on different sides of the aisle. How do we best help our state? Like, what are some bills that we could work on as like co-sponsored bills with us and Republican elected officials, and have more of a unified front as Louisiana and as a Louisiana delegate instead of a Republican versus Democrat.
You would think that there are plenty of issues that
There should be
a
opportunities.
cross-party delegation
Yes.
could agree
Hmm.
on to focus on the folks of Louisiana. It does seem so often that our current representatives and our current senators are more
Hmm.
focused on the business interests that have paid to put them into office.
Hmm.
Um, Matt, let's focus on that, the long odds of this situation.
Right.
It's something that the other candidates have mentioned.
Hmm.
Fundraising is obviously an issue. The incumbent in this race in particular's got a
Yep.
lot of money and power
Tons of
behind
money.
him
Hmm.
to keep him in that seat. What are your goals? What are the next steps for you as far as fundraising goes? How have you begun to put a team together to try to make that a
Hmm.
possibility?
Yeah, I mean, like in all races, fundraising is an issue. There's so much money in politics. Citizens United happened. There are a lot of changes that need to be made in political campaigns so more average Americans can run. So I think part of it is education. You don't know what you don't know, and I've learned a lot. And so communicating, where does all this money go? When you say that it might take $500,000, which is more than some people will see in their entire lifetime, right? Like this is
Right.
an astronomical amount of money. What does it all go to? And I mean, there's so many different things. I got off a call just now talking about all the different avenues, and it's really tough. But I think part of it is building the right team. Part of it is educating people, and then I'm a math person. I'm a budget person. I learned how to live on a teacher salary. My first year, I made $33,000, and it meant some days that I didn't have lunch. um, so I know how to like work on a really, really lean budget, and so I'm applying those principles to the campaign budget as well.
Matt, it's funny to think about that, and I've never thought of it before. My mother was an educator as well, lifelong educator, and my grandmother wasn't a teacher, but she worked in the school board. She was the cafeteria supervisor for Morehouse Parish's big high school when I was growing up. It never occurred to me that universal school lunch would be a teacher benefit as well. But you know what? It
Yeah,
would. It
right.
would be.
It
We'd
would.
make that a
It
teacher
would.
benefit as well. That's a
Hmm.
something we could do at a federal level
Yes.
to help every state squeeze out a little bit more budget for their teachers, a little
Hmm.
bit of aid.
Yep.
You make a good point though. You do know how to live on a budget. You do know how to stretch a dollar as an educator,
Hmm.
specifically. And I do think there's a possibility that it is about getting out there and spreading voices. Also,
Hmm.
the fact of the matter is, as much money as Mike Johnson has behind him, even his voters, even the people who have supported him in previous races, they see where his priorities are. And
Yep.
surely they
Hmm.
see that they are not
It's not
focused on the people
Louisiana.
of
Yeah.
Louisiana.
Yeah.
Yeah. Matt, what are your next steps? I think by the time this releases, we will have missed your launch party. That's coming like in the next couple of days as we record, right?
Yeah, on Saturday. So in West
Talk a
Monroe,
little bit
Flying
about that.
Heart. I'm so excited. It's the first, yeah, our launch party, our first like big event. We're gonna have a band raffle, just meet and greet, have fun, pizza bar open. The goal of my campaign is to treat to have people realize that like politics is not this like scary entity. Yes, there's scary things that are happening for sure. But like a politician isn't scary and a campaign isn't scary, and like we are and should be working towards the same goals. We should be able to talk to each other and communicate in any type of setting. It doesn't have to be this like super stuffy place. And so like let's meet, let's hang out, let's have some pizza, if you want to have a drink. Let's like truly just talk as people. One-on-one in small group, like let's talk and see what are the issues, how can we work together, what do you see happening? I mean, I'm a math person. The more data points, the better. So like bring me data. Let's talk about it. Let's figure out how we can work towards a future that benefits everybody.
Oh, I think that small group idea, literally getting together and talking through things, I think that's how we can change this entire system and make it, a better functioning society, not just
Mhm.
for you and me, but for all of our neighbors here in
Yeah.
the state, the region, and the whole freaking country, man.
Mm.
It's one of the reasons why I wanted to do this podcast. I wanted to have these conversations. Lauren Jewett made the comment
Mhm.
that the folks that show up are not just the ones that want, they're not the only ones that want to, they're the ones that are willing and able to, right?
Yes. Mhm.
You've got to have the resources, you got to have the energy, you got to have the
Mhm.
time, you
Mhm.
got to have a little bit of money in your
Yep.
gas tank,
Uh-huh.
et cetera,
Yep.
all those
Yep.
things to be able to show up
Absolutely.
to a meeting or a protest or a
Mhm.
or run for office, et cetera, et cetera.
Yes.
So the fact that you're willing to stand up and have your voice heard is its own gift, and we appreciate you for it, Matt.
Well, I think it's also really important then to vary the type of interactions that you provide for people. So not only am I having my kickoff on Saturday, but next Wednesday, February 4th, I'm doing a virtual town hall with Tracy Burke, who's a Senate candidate, and it's just Q&A. Email us your questions, Facebook us your questions. Like we'll bring them in, we'll answer them. Just providing those spaces where, yeah, what if you don't have enough money to pay for gas to go there, or you have different ability levels where you can't get out of the house, or you can't drive after dark, or like we have to be able to provide opportunities for people to come to us and meet us where it's most convenient and able for them, instead of assuming that where we go, people will follow.
I like that a lot. Yes, yes. On that note, where can people find you online? Where do people follow your campaign and keep up with you and what you're doing, not only in this race, but in the future too?
Sure. Yeah. So all my socials are live. So Matt Gromlich for Congress, Facebook, Insta, mattgromlichforcongress.com or fightersforourfuture.com. They both go to the same place. Find me everywhere. You can email me at matt@mattgromlichforcongress.com. Email me with questions, comments, whatever. I can, right now, thankfully, with how the campaign is, like there's some time to have these sessions like and talk to people, so like I'm very open to talk to anybody who wants to just like jump in and be like, hey, can we talk for 15-30 minutes about whatever. Yes, yeah, like that is what this position is. It's hearing the voices
Yeah.
of your constituents. And so yeah, like let's find time to discuss whatever you want to discuss. I'm open.
I'm assuming too, they can donate on your website as well.
Yes, donations are and volunteers are both highly
Perfect.
valued and necessary. So yeah, even any small dollar, like a $5 donation, helps so much, like more than you think. So yeah, that, and then there's a volunteer form. You can sign up for anything from being a part of the research team to Canvas to helping phone bank to uh, polling to. I mean, there's so many different opportunities to volunteer as well.
Talk to me a little bit about, I noticed the other website, Fighters for Our Future. Did I get that
Yeah.
right? Okay.
Yes.
Where did you come up with
Where
that
did that
name?
come
What does that
from?
idea mean for you? Yeah.
Yeah,
I like
it's
it.
my thank you. I like it too. I was told it's too cute. and that it should be like Matt Gromlich for Congress. So I have that as well. In deciding to run right now, if we want America to continue to be the America that I grew up in and love, we have to be able to fight for our democracy and fight for what we want and fight for ourselves, our neighbors, our friends, and our countrymen. And so I don't know, I was like putting the campaign together and thinking about like what is motivating me? Why am I doing this? And I'm doing this because I want there to be a future. I want us to get past this moment. And the only way that we can do that is if people are actually standing up and working together.
No, that is it, 100%. You know, I think I've mentioned I've got kids. I've got 4 of them, as a matter of fact, Matt. And I think to myself, I love this state. I was born and raised here. I've lived here virtually my whole life. I lived in Southern Ohio for a couple of summers doing summer stock theater. Other than that, I've always been a Louisiana kid. And I want to die here. I want to die in this state a long, long time from now.
Yeah.
But I think about my kids and I think, maybe this isn't the place for you to build your young life and your young adult life and your family. And
Mhm.
that saddens me.
That's
So
sad.
I am working hard every day
Mm,
to make sure that this is a state where my kids and my grandkids and my great grandkids will be proud and
mhm,
excited and
mm.
thrive.
Yes, absolutely.
Matt, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for stepping up into this race, and thank you for
Thank you.
spreading the word about how we can make this a better state and a better country for everybody in it.
Thank you so much.